he's launching a blatantly racist attack on 4 duly elected members of the United States House of Representatives, all of whom are women of color. This is the agenda of white nationalists.
No matter what the president says, this country belongs to you. And it belongs to everyone. And today, that very notion was challenged.
The 4 Democratic lawmakers targeted by President Donald Trump in a tweet are responding. They just wrapped up their speeches in D.C.
This comes after a tweet telling the 4 lawmakers to go back to the countries from which they came. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one target, along with 3 other freshman Democrats. All are women of color and U.S. citizens. 3 of the 4 were born in the United States. President Trump is not backing down, despite a backlash from members of both parties.
If they don't like it here, they can leave. All they do is complain. So all I'm saying is, if they want to leave, they can leave.
Earlier, the president singled out Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who was born in Somalia.
See somebody talking about how great Al-Qaeda is. Pick out her statement. That was Omar. How great Al-Qaeda is.
Omar quickly tweeted she will never back down in the face of those attacks. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is calling on Republican lawmakers to join Democrats in voting for a resolution condemning the president's statements. All but a few Texas Republican congressmen and senators have been mum on this issue.
KXAN political reporter Phil Prazen reports that these comments might rally President Trump's supporters, but it won't win him new supporters, you say, Phil.
Well, Sydney, I reached out to all of our congressmen and 2 senators, John Cornyn, Ted Cruz, Michael McCall, Roger Williams, John Carter, and Chip Roy. 2 got back to me. The rest I haven't heard anything. Not agreeing, not disagreeing. Senator John Cornyn, per a spokeswoman, said of the president's tweet, it was a mistake. And then there's Congressman Chip Roy. He has a history of independence, bucking President Trump when he believes he's wrong. He tweeted, the president was wrong to say any American citizen, whether in Congress or not, has any home besides the United States. But I just as strongly believe non-citizens who abuse our immigration laws should be sent home immediately, and reps who refuse to defend America should be sent home 11/20/20, which of course is the next election. Texas Congressman Will Hurd is in the most competitive district in Texas, and he said this.
The tweets are racist and xenophobic. They're also inaccurate because the 4 women he's referring to are folks that have grown up, they're U.S. citizens. It's behavior that's unbecoming of a president of the United States and a leader of the free world. We should talk about uniting people and not dividing us. And ultimately, politically, it's hurtful.
But as for Cruz, McCall, Williams, and Carter, I have not yet received a response, and I reached out this morning. Longtime Republican strategist Brendan Steinhauser tells us this puts many Republican elected officials between a rock and a hard place. President Trump is widely popular with their most dedicated base voters, but could sway Texans of color or immigrants to vote elsewhere.
If we can talk about freedom and opportunity for all Texans, including immigrants, then I think we'll have success. But if we're having to defend remarks and statements that are counterproductive and make people feel unwanted or unwelcome, then we're just playing defense. And we need to be on offense.
Texas will be a key battleground state in 2020, and it is only getting more diverse as new people move here. Statements like these will continue to set up an internal struggle within the GOP locally as they decide every day whether to back what the president says or not.